Hello, my friends on YouTube. Today is Sunday, the 28th of November 2021. I would like to continue with you about the life of Muhammad and what he left us of legacy, good and evil, or good and bad. Uh, Actually, the title, it rhymes because it originates from Arabic, that you see many Muslims. I'll try to translate it, but it says أحسن ما فينا محمد نبينا, which translates to the best that happened to us Muslims is that Muhammad is our prophet. Is Muhammad our prophet? Or Muhammad is our prophet. And I would like to take a moment to see the validity of this poem, the way it rhymes, because it can be deceiving, or it's rather deceiving. Okay, uh, to start with, from Zig Zig, he told me in the comment that Muhammad was epileptic. Few people I know of a neuroscientist from Iran. He studied Muhammad's life, and he concluded that he was definitely epileptic. Whether he was epileptic or not is not the issue, because we shouldn't really judge a person even. We shouldn't judge a person on his sickness, whether it's physical sickness or mental sickness, because people get sick all the time. So, really, in my opinion, we shouldn't make this an issue if he was sick. But what I would like to focus on is the sickness of thoughts that he left to humanity, and the sickness that we are suffering of as human today. And not only us as a human, as the whole world is suffering because of terrorism and destruction. And when you read and see what a group like ISIS or Al Qaeda or Boko Haram or Al Shabaab, all these true Muslim groups who follow the teaching of Muhammad to the letter, they commit tremendous atrocity. That's what we would like to speak about. This kind of sickness, the sickness of thoughts, that it is transmitted generation after generation until our time. So, Muhammad, as we mentioned in the last video, he was a child. When he was a child, he was really unwanted, was rejected. And the idea, I can't understand how would a person feel if he knows, or if she knows, that his mother or her mother conceived that child of illegitimate sexual relationship. But I think it will be very destructive to the mind and the heart of the person. And probably that's why Muhammad was struggling so much, and he had so much resentment and so much anger towards his mother. And it is reflected. He of course, he attribute his thinking to God, that he asked God to go to visit her grave, and God gave him permission to visit her grave, and he wanted to forgive her, but God, of course, didn't have as much mercy in his heart as the prophet had. So God told him, no, you can't um, ask for mercy for this woman. So that a person growing up in such situation, he was very poor, he didn't have enough to eat, he was not loved, and that caused a lot of damage in the heart of a person and could make the person very hateful and resentful and looking for any way to justify his hate. And when he has the chance, he starts to act on that. When you see that the the Jews and the Christians, but specifically the Jews who leave their homeland, let's say from Jerusalem, and go to live in Mecca or Medina, these two desert uh, cities, there must have been a reason. And the reason was actually these people not they were not living in regular homes. These were equivalent to today's people like, let's say, uh, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, people who have billions and they can live anywhere comfortably. And if there is some threat, they will build a wall and have a castle and an army to defend this castle. And that was the situation of the Jews of Muhammad's time, who left their homeland because they are in that crossroad of Mecca and Medina, and all the merchants coming there and leaving from there. So they used to buy their merchandise there and distribute it probably in many places all over the world, the ancient world back then. So these people were tremendous financial force. And Muhammad, he wanted to be accepted by these people, and he wanted to be praised. He wanted to feel wanted, needed, that he has value. But unfortunately, it is very unfortunate, because if there was a person who had embraced this man and directed him to forgive or let go of this anger in your heart towards your mother or towards anyone, probably that would have been a different outcome. However, we deal with what happened now and what we have. Uh, so Muhammad grew up with that kind of anger, hate, and resentment, and he blamed it primarily on the Jews and, number two in line, the Christians uh, in Arabia. And he had so much anger towards them, and it's actually projected in his teaching in the Quran that he was kind of like angry with his uncle, that he had a lot of money. His uncle was very wealthy. Uh, he was one of the heavyweight merchants in Arabia, but he couldn't believe in the nonsense that Muhammad was saying. So Muhammad was also talking about, you think because you have money and wealth and you're earning a lot of money, that will help you after you die, you will go to hell. So there is contradiction here, that Muhammad, on one hand, he says that the Jews and the Christian are people of the book. And what he means by people of the book is they are people who have received revelation from God and close to God. And yet, he had tremendous hate and anger and resentment towards them, that he said they should be expelled out of Arabia. And he killed many of them. And that is the kind of sickness that he couldn't overcome, and we inherited that, or Islamic teaching inherited that. And when you see Al Qaeda, when you see ISIS, when you see Boko Haram, and all these movements and the atrocity they commit specifically towards the people of the book, the Jews and the Christian. You know where it's coming from. So I will hold him responsible to this atrocity, but I can't really blame him on a disease that it's not in his hand, whether it's epilepsy or any. What if he had a heart condition? I mean, people get sick. That's not a big deal. But to transmit uh, anger, hate, resentment for generation to a point that he has a hadith. In that hadith, he says, in the last days, the translation of the hadith, in the last days, all the Jews has to be exterminated, killed, destroyed completely. And whoever hides behind a rock, if a Jew hides behind a rock, that rock, I think it translates to a rock, but it might mean a boulder. That boulder will speak out and say, Muslim man, there is a Jew hiding behind me. Come and kill him. Come and kill him. And before his death, he said, you have to expel all the Jews and the Christians out of the Arabian Peninsula. So that hate and resentment, I have to hold him accountable to that. Because we are suffering today because of these things, because of these thoughts. They are extremely dangerous, and they are leaving us paralyzed, and they are leaving the Muslim community and the Muslim nations paralyzed. They complain and they say, oh, there's exactly what he did. They leave their disastrous countries, whether it's Yemen, Iraq, Syria. They come to Europe, they go to Europe, or they come to the United States here, where I live, and they build mosques, and they want to bring that disastrous thoughts to this land. Unfortunately, Muslims are victim of these thoughts. So when a Muslim says the best thing that it happened to us is we have Muhammad as our prophet, in what manner? How do you justify that? That's my question to the Muslim. How would take a step back? I remember when I was living in Egypt as a child, I remember many of these small grocery stores or whatever store, they will write on top of their window, Allah, next to him, Muhammad. That means Muhammad and Allah are equivalent. Actually, it's not equivalent. It's Muhammad is high. If you study Muhammad's teaching carefully, Muhammad is higher than Allah. Because let's say a person curses Allah because of whatever reason, curses Allah. He could repent and say, I made a mistake, and things passes. But if you curse Muhammad, you could repent, but you will still get punished by death. You will be killed anyway. Repent or not repent, you are to die. Because Muhammad, nobody should say anything bad about him or curse him. So you are forgiven when you curse God, but not forgiven when you curse Muhammad. You are forgiven when you commit sin against God, or not sin, I don't know how to put this, but basically it's okay to insult God, but it's not okay to insult Muhammad. You will be killed. So they put Muhammad, I mean, this is really ironic because they are uh, they make fun of the Christian, specifically of the Christian, because they say Jesus is the Son of God, and they say Jesus is God in the flesh. But they say it out loud, they say it directly. Muslims are putting Muhammad above God, but they don't say it, but they act it. Okay? They act it. And I gave you the example. You insult God, it's okay, it passes. You insult Muhammad, you go to hell. You will be killed and you go to hell. Muhammad is more important than God in Islam. So all that hate and the rejection that he experienced, he uh, he couldn't. I guess the factor of forgiveness is very difficult for Muhammad. Well, forgiveness in general is very difficult. Forgiveness is very difficult. That's from a personal experience. So to forgive is not so easy. Uh, so he couldn't forgive what happened to him and move on. He was, in my opinion, he was stuck in a spot with his anger and resentment, and he couldn't deal with that. He couldn't overcome that. So he had to, in a way, put his wrath on the Jews and the Christian and anyone who does not accept him and follow what he is saying. You ought to die. You ought to suffer here on earth and after you die. Eternal damnation because you didn't accept me. So this is, I don't know, this is really, in a way also is childish. Probably mentally Muhammad, because he was not embraced in a family, in a proper family setting, he was never really educated how to behave as a child, as a he didn't receive his mother's love. That's number one. You know, there is physical growth that it happens in the family for each child, but also there is mental development. And depending on how harmonious the family is, the mental development takes place. So when you don't have that structure, the family structure, to protect and nourish a child, that child will be very much damaged. And that's not only Muhammad, this is any human being who is not raised in a loving home with a father and a mother. His life will always be having, he or she will be having some difficulties to digest things and let go of certain things. And that Muhammad, when we spoke about him in the last video, he grew up practically homeless. Okay, his mother sent him away for 4 years just after he was born. She didn't want anything to do with him. He was rejected by his mother. His father, he doesn't know who his father is. And a woman who is nursing him, giving him milk and food, it is not the same like how a mother embraces her child. He is missing that. No father around to guide him either. No family members like his uncles. His uncles were really dubious of him, so they didn't want him around. So that feeling of rejection and feeling unwanted, that left tremendous, in my opinion, that left tremendous damage in his mind, and he couldn't, instead of forgive, he started to build a resentment towards people who have success and good families. And it's mentioned clearly in Quran that Muhammad, he was very jealous of people of wealth and those uh, المال والبنون, those who have offspring and money. And primarily these were the Jews and the Christian, the successful people in Arabia. He was jealous of them and he wanted to be accepted by them. He wanted to be embraced by them. He wanted to feel that this is my family. Should one of them had embraced him or adopted him as a son and educated him and directed him in the proper way, one of these wealthy merchants, we wouldn't be suffering of what we are today, because all that we have today is actually generations of deformation inherited one generation to the next, until today. We are dealing with it today. And I want to end this video by asking the Muslim, any Muslim, when you say that the best thing that it happened to us is having Muhammad as our prophet, what makes you so proud of him? That he killed, for example, a whole tribe, the men of a whole tribe, and on the way home in the same day raped the daughter of the head of the tribe? Are you proud of this? Because I spoke to a Muslim young man and he said, yeah, it's no problem. Because she loved him. She loved him that he killed her husband, father, brother, all of the men of her tribe, 900 of them, murdered, slaughter them. And then on the way home, he ordered his gang to erect a tent so he can rape her. Are you proud of that? Is that normal? Are you proud that a 54 years old person have sexual relationship with a 9 years old, the age of her grandfather? That's her grandfather, 54, and she's 9. Okay, this is part 2, you could say, of explaining the life of Muhammad, because some people ask about, they want to know about Muhammad's early life. Thank you very much. We hope to hear from you.